welcome to the 4th episode of Dungeons and Dialogue.
5th. 3, 4, 5.
I think it is
You,
5.
me, Nicole, Sam, Dylan. It's 5.
Oh, right. I
Where
can't
the hell
count.
did you go to school, mate?
Maysville with
No,
you
you didn't.
for
With
1
the
year.
1 year.
Anyways, welcome back to the 5th episode of Dungeons and Dialogue.
No, the 12th.
Brought to you by your D&D channel. I'm half of the host here, Joey.
I'm Scott.
The other half of the host, and we have our guest today, Dylan. And now we're just going to go ahead and go over just basically the meet and greet episode of the podcast for you, Dylan. We're going to talk about some of your experiences with D&D, ask you some questions.
Like how you started, all that other fun shit.
So we're going to go ahead and pull up the questions here, and we'll get started on that.
Was it as dark in here when everyone else recorded?
It was. It was as dark as
It's
this.
like dark as shit.
You'll live.
It's definitely like, whoa.
Can you hear my questions?
Yeah, I guess.
All right, we'll be good.
You were fine. So let's just start off with the big question. How did you get into D&D?
Oh, well, when I went... That's a big question.
It is a huge one. I feel like I'm going to be a part of this answer.
So, not quite. I was already into it by the time I was playing with you. I moved to this town my freshman year of high school, and I was super angsty. I wasn't happy with moving. I just had a really hard time making friends in school, had just found a clique that I made friends with, and then my parents were like, just kidding, we're moving. So I was, really angsty, really upset, and that summer, before I moved, my other friend Joey G, who I'm sure we will mention way too many times over the course of this channel's life.
Way too many times.
Kid's just a goddamn savant.
Because I was leaving, he was like, hey, we should have like a party, so that we can all hang out and stuff before you leave. And during that party, he brought Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 Player's Handbook and like DMG, and maybe even the Monster Manual, I'm honestly not sure. And I made a character named Eishton. He was an evil wizard. Eishton is still one of the characters that, like, if I were to really make, like, my character, like, the character that I would be, like, I'm gonna play this guy as Dylan's character for the rest of time, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
A lot of people have that kind of one character who means the most to them. For a long time, that was definitely Eishton, and if I were to go back and make another powerful evil wizard, Eishton is what it would be. I guess.
Well,
I guess when we in our water campaign that we're playing through, I have a big evil wizard, but he wasn't Eishton, because Eishton is not a pirate. He's not. He is just a wizard. He wasn't even going to lich. He was just going to be a powerful evil wizard. So, but that was like my first character I ever made. We played through a campaign there, and I remember being like, "Wow, this game is." Because I never knew what playing D&D was. All I knew is that it led to Satan worship or some shit and suicide. Like that was the stigma I had about D&D. Yeah, and my parents were really against it, and because I grew up in a very strong Christian household, so they were not cool with the idea of Satan worship and all that stuff.
And look at you now, summoning demons.
And now I summon demons in the basement every week. No.
And your world changed.
Well, what really changed is, like, when I played it, I got into it. I enjoyed it, and I was like, this is nothing like what I've been told it was. You know what I mean? So when I started getting into it, I was able to explain that to my parents, and they became totally okay with it once they realized, like, what it actually was and why those stigmas existed. But yeah, so it was like my freshman year of high school. It was like my freshman year of high school that I really got into it. I actually started 2 clubs in high school. I started a Yu-Gi-Oh club that became a card club.
What a
I remember
fucking
that.
I know,
I
man.
was right there with you as soon as you walked into the office to talk about it.
And then once the Yu-Gi-Oh club got going, a little bit later in the year,
after I left.
and then like junior year of high school, I started a D&D club because I'd already been playing with my friends at home and on weekends and stuff. But I was at the point where, like, when we did these clubs, like card club, it was like your school classes ended at like 2:25 or whatever, and we'd be in the building till like 10 o'clock playing fucking cards. Like,
yeah, it was nuts.
And so when we did that for D&D, it became like the same thing where I had a way longer group. I was used to playing like one shots or like maybe 2 or 3 hours a session, and then suddenly it went to like these 8-hour, 9-hour play sessions, and that is, in my opinion, yeah, in my opinion, that's how you should be playing D&D, because if you don't have 8 hours to spend, then you aren't going to get anything done. Like, when you talk to someone, that could take your entire 2-hour play slot if that's all you have.
Especially with the way we evolved as a group into our play style.
Right. But that was kind of where I started, was just in high school, figuring out,
late night sessions.
And to be real, I don't even... even then, like, I knew how to play, but I was very homebrew. I was very non-knowledgeable. I didn't actually read through the DMG. I didn't actually read through the player's handbook or the monster manual. I just kind of flipped the stuff as I needed it. It wasn't until I was already done with high school and I was in college, I started playing a little more seriously with a group of college friends, and then eventually I joined Rodney's group, and you were actually in that with me, Joey. Scott wasn't yet, I don't think. I think it was you, me, Zach S. Cut that, sorry.
Good job.
And Joey G, maybe Nick.
Nick every now and again.
And I think that was the group when I actually really started to be like, okay, I need to...
What campaign was it?
Many.
Several, yeah. It was
Okay,
the Eastern campaign was one of them.
one.
I know you were in that one. The one that we played just before that, which was like my first Bird Monk character.
Yep.
So yeah, you were in it with us then. But that was when I started getting serious. That was what changed, because Rodney was already serious. Rodney had been playing with his friends way more hardcore, and he's my brother, by the way. He had been playing with his friends way more hardcore than I had. I took the game much more easy. I enjoyed roleplay and fun. Rodney was like, no, deep combat with real rules and good feats and, you know, builds and all the stuff that I'm into now that I've played the game for like another 3 or 4 years since then. Right. But at that time I was not as fluent.
He was like a meta player before we knew what meta plays was.
Well, he was
in a way.
He's not though. That's the real thing, because his meta is still not the shit you see if you go on Giant in the Playground. It's like, no, Rodney's shit is weak meta. Like,
it's like tier 4.
Right, exactly. It's like, no, you can really you can pun any class if you want to, you know what I mean? Like, you just have to know how.
You played the game since it was first invented.
Yeah. And we don't really play that way. We prefer to be powerful with limits.
And have a
versus
nice
no limits is like way too... Yeah, and roleplay is important. But when you don't have limits and stuff, we, you know...
Go nuts.
It's too... Yeah, and it's not fun. It's like, you know, it can be, but...
You know, you get like an hour.
You have to have a DM who's able to deal with. You have to have a DM who's able to deal with your shit, and like if you hit a point of too powerful, they just can't. So. But yeah, so that was how I got started playing Dungeons and Dragons and all that. I was just mostly through high school and stuff, and then I really.
When we were in high school, we used to get on Skype and have little
one-on-ones and stuff. That's something that I don't know if I'd ever be able to do again, one-on-one, because it's just not.
It's not as diverse.
It's not as diverse. I remember once, man, you really hurt me deep one time when we were playing on Skypes, because I had set up this campaign where you had gone one-on-one with me, and you had discovered in the basement of this library this giant fucking brain that was like sucking up the ink.
I was so fucking fed up with that shit.
Well, because that was the thing. You didn't let me explain what was going on. Like, he had gotten this giant brain was stealing all the information from this library, and all the ink was disappearing off all the books. And Joey was like in the town, and he found like he spotted at some point like a row of black liquid like going underneath the library, like seeping into the ground. So he found an entrance into the basement and found like tons of this black liquid is flowing everywhere. And as he realized, like going into it and stuff, it is ink. This is the ink that's being pulled from the pages. So we followed it, and he's wading through this ink in the basement of this, like, old-ass library, and finds a giant fucking brain in there. And it's, like, sucking up the ink into itself, and it's, like, huge. And Joey's, like, looking at this thing like, what the fuck? And it basically starts talking to him like, I am...
This is the first time I run into him.
Yeah.
And I'm alright with him at this point. I'm like, there is a plot point.
And he was like, I'm just this giant brain, and I eat knowledge, I eat information, and I'm trying to learn everything, essentially. And that wasn't a big deal for a bit, and then something happened where Joey was, like, quested to go... He had to kill it, and he didn't know how. But he was really smart. He went up to the library. When he realized he had to kill it, he'd come back sessions later, and he got a giant book, like one of the ones that was just already in the library that now was empty, but it was really big. And he brought that down to the brain and actually slammed the brain shut in the book. And then that made this tome of knowledge that became, like, all knowledge, essentially, in one book. But if you read it, you went insane. And he, like, tied that shit up with, like, a belt. And then he went on some other campaign where he found, like, a second half of the same being. And that's why I think he was getting fed up with it, because he kept fighting this thing. Like, he fought the brain and then beat it. And then the next time he played, he went somewhere else and there was another half of it. And so he got that, and he put it together into 2 pieces, and then he buried those pieces out in the yard somewhere, or in like an area where he lived.
And then we had a campaign that wasn't seemingly related to anything about that had your girlfriend at the time in it. It was her first campaign. And the first fucking thing he throws against us was another piece of this bullshit.
No, you found out that the 2 books had been dug up, and they were no
Right.
longer where they were. And then you quit playing. Like, you refused to play the rest of that campaign through anymore.
That fucking book bullshit.
But the thing that sucked is that I wasn't trying to introduce it as a recurring enemy again. I had made 2 more enemies that were in the same vein. So this was the embodiment of knowledge. I had made another one that was the embodiment of greed, and it was made of like gold and could be trapped in gold and treasure, like the same way the knowledge was trapped in a book. And then I had made one that was the embodiment of beauty, and she was going to be trapped in a mirror. And so that was the campaign I was going to send you on. And then the reason you were going to get let on this is because someone was trying to collect all 3 of them, and they had already gotten the 2 books for knowledge. So they weren't going to have you fight it again. And I tried to explain that to you, but you wouldn't listen, and it broke my heart.
Off point that day. I don't know what was going on. I was super pissy.
Like always.
No, like to the next level.
Like always.
Not always.
Like usual. Like often.
Yeah.
But it did end up being something that I actually did recycle them later
Okay.
into Askaya.
Yeah,
I think
you did.
I dropped knowledge. I didn't make
Thank God.
knowledge isn't one of them, but I kept greed and beauty, and then the third one became gluttony, and that was like the plane eater.
Oh shit! I was gonna say, did I run into these guys? And yes, I did.
Yeah.
Totally whiffed that in Sky.
Yeah.
Totally threw that into the fire.
That's actually, even though I've had a campaign idea of that for a long time, where it would be like 7 or 8 of these different embodiments that are all around the world, but I don't know if I'll do that now because like I have done that a couple times now. Like that is a reoccurring theme I've done in my own D&D, stuff since then. I might do one campaign like that for the channel if there's interest, but that's going to be, at this point, like down the road, assuming that my campaign goes without a
it
hitch.
should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, I don't remember the question.
That's how you got started.
Oh well, I just totally went off on a
I mean,
tangent,
not
but,
really.
but that was one of the early times that you and I played.
Yeah.
We used to play over Skype. You had an NPC who was cool. I forget what his name was, but I remember you had one NPC with you.
in the campaign.
You didn't. It was cool because you didn't want him with you.
No, I didn't.
You didn't want him with you, and then he followed you anyway and did something that actually like proved he was worth it, and you actually became friends with him. And it was one of them. I had never done that in D&D yet. I had never made a character like an NPC to the point of this guy should be in the party. You know what I mean? But I needed that because it was alone. It was just you.
Yeah, it was just me.
So, but yeah, that's kind of how I got started and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
Goes a little past that, but
Yeah. So, what are some things you do for the channel here? Sticking with some of the stuff.
I edit the footage so we have like several cameras and several audio sources and stuff. So I make sure that the cameras are all synced up to the audio when we have and then I put together the full session. So we record like usually 7 or 8 hours worth of footage, and then I get that all put together, and then Sam gets that footage and cuts that up into episodes, and he does the confessionals system and all that stuff. I also do stuff on Twitch right now, where I'm just like recording myself working for my campaign that's coming after Nicole's is done.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to make it this really, really huge, expansive world. So it's
Way
got a
too
lot
big.
of. It's way too big. It's got a lot of stuff in it that I want to get. I want to have ready so that when people, the idea is that if you are watching us, you will also be able to download this whole module for free, and then it's a big enough world that even if you can start in the same place we did if you want to, but it's so big that you can start literally anywhere, and you might not ever go to any of the places that you guys go when we're playing,
Right.
because it's just so big of a world. And I want that to be the case because then, other people can use that campaign, and then the next time I run a campaign, I can use the same world with a totally different premise still, and, different things like that. So that's like one of the main things I do. And then I also, right now, I'm running the Instagram, and then less so the Twitter and the Facebook. Those are just kind of... We're going to get them going, but for now, Instagram is what I'm really focusing on, because I like it the most. So.
It's the one I prefer.
So, but that's pretty much what I do, is some editing. Oh, also I'm an actor when it comes to the channel. I'm one of the people in the campaign. I guess that counts. So, no, it doesn't count.
No, I wouldn't.
Scott
We
Shakers
definitely
said
don't pay you an actor's wage.
that. That's true.
We pay you in,
Bananas.
Sexual favors.
nah.
G-strings.
Nah.
Bananas and G-strings.
Joey might, I don't.
Banana hammocks.
God damn it.
But yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I do for the channel, mostly.
What's some things you really like about recording D&D?
I really, really like. I guess these stories when you know, like when you play D&D, right? It's easy to forget things about about D&D when you're playing it. You know, like you play for, like, especially with our group, we play like a 6-month or 8-month campaign. You know what I mean? And you
sometimes
forget
longer.
Yeah, sometimes longer, and so you forget many details. So one of the things I'm really excited for with this being a channel is, I don't know how much I will go back and watch a campaign all the way through again, but I do know if we're wondering something, like if we make the note, like I'm not sure, what happened with this, I can't remember. One of us can go back and look, or if our channel actually starts doing really well, people in the comments will just say it.
It's like, hey, you dumbass, no, you did do this.
You did this thing, yeah. And that'll, I think that'll be really helpful because the continuity of D&D is really important to me. I really think that making a story that makes sense is the most important thing. Like, if your story makes no sense because every time something really, bad happens, God shows up himself and says, just kidding, you're fine, then, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But if God shows up because you did this thing this one time and God owes you a favor, that makes that's totally good in the continuity. So I think that's one of the things I'm excited for is keeping the continuity straight and actually having a story that feels like, everything's documented. It's not just memory.
Yeah. Speaking of favors in the water campaign, we are owed a lot of favors.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
we have too many.
You're gods now. So.
Not yet. We have to play like 2 or 3 more
shit,
sessions.
yeah. You haven't done Corsair
we're close.
Yeah.
Soon you will be gods, and at that point, give yourself your own favors.
Or we'll die.
Or you'll die.
Yeah.
Very good possibility we might die.
I honestly think
I'm pulling for you. God knows I won't be there.
I mean, technically you are.
No.
Yeah, if we go.
You're in the
only
place
in spirit.
You're in the place where we're at, so technically you are there.
You are in Carceri.
Not if I
We
kill
have to
myself.
we have to fight the army of the damned, and you're in that. So
Can't wait to die for a second time.
You'll just pop back out. You'll be fine. You just pop back where you started. It's like, oh, weird dream. Driving the boat. That was fucked up. Spaced out for a minute there.
I don't even think I have a boat.
You probably do.
I don't know. I
You
don't think I do.
You died as a captain.
But I died
but
in
we
a
haven't
bar.
set sail yet.
But you're still a captain, though.
Sure, but I died in a bar, so I'd wake up in a bar with no boat because you guys left on a boat without me.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be weird.
We'll give you a boat.
How? You're in hell. Like
We have plenty of boats.
Yeah. We have like 20 boats, man.
But you're in hell and I'm not.
Our boats
Yeah, you
are in bottles.
You're in Carceri.
Then if I wake up in a bar after dying again, I'm
It's a
popping-
bar in Carceri.
Yeah.
You can't leave Carceri if you're there, man.
Well, if I die.
No, you
Just
still
pop
gotta
back
pop
into
back
real
in,
life.
in Carceri. But yeah.
So, what would be some of your likes and as well some dislikes you have about D&D 3.5, I guess, or in general?
Well, okay, so I love how the game kind of brings you closer together with people.
Speak for your fucking self. I hate all of you.
Well,
I don't know why I'm here.
like when
Why
you,
did I agree to this?
when you play, like, especially since we do tend to play longer sessions, we have done one-offs, but they're not like our thing.
Mhm.
They're boring.
They're a little more boring, yeah, because we all really like to get to know the character that we're building and developing. Sorry.
Unless it's one we've already like thought of for like weeks and weeks and weeks
Sure.
and months. It's like I've been thinking about this character since we started like the water campaign.
Right.
Can we do a one-off because he already has a backstory and he's like, I'm going to make him like 15th level because I need for all the prereqs and shit.
Sure.
And that's like
And that kind of stuff's fun, but like I really like the time that you do bond with the other players, as long as it's not like a toxic group. Like, you can have D&D groups that should not play together, where their mentalities are just totally different. You have the combat players and the roleplay players who just don't mix. They can't handle how the other person plays.
it's surprising
but-
we have a really good balance.
We have a good balance, yeah. I think we all learned the same way that combat comes second to us.
I mean, I don't really like RP that much.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah,
you don't
you also
interrupt
die
it to make sure that we have combat.
Oh, yeah, no.
That's where you have problems, when you have someone who can't handle that the other party members want to roleplay.
And that's when I just shut the hell up and let you guys do what you're doing.
Sure.
Excellent.
And it's fine that you can like combat more, but overall, like we still meet Nerith or whatever. Like we still know him better by the end of the campaign. And then, you know, by proxy, we know you better by the end of the campaign because we've, you know, had to compromise with each other for a year of a campaign. You know what I mean? And like make sure that our characters don't want to kill each other.
Yeah. I think we've gone a little bit over the year mark for the water campaign.
I think we have.
Surprised.
But we also had to take breaks, so I don't know when it comes to.
I don't know.
Because like
I had to dip out at the beginning of it because I was starting my new job and I haven't been there for a year yet.
You had to dip out when your girlfriend was just getting pregnant. You've been there for it was
my
before
baby's not a year yet.
No, but you were getting pregnant, so 9 months plus however old your baby is.
Yeah. How old is she now?
8 months.
So yeah, it's
17 months.
17 months, a little over a year. You dipped out when you guys first found out you were pregnant.
Yeah.
Did I?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh shit. I thought it was because I was getting a new job and that came after. So I was.
You ended up getting the new job too,
right?
You definitely were like, no, I'm having a baby. Like, I can't. And that was what was really funny because later, once you had the baby, you were like, I want in D&D.
Yeah, like, I need back into D&D.
We were like, yeah, we never wanted you to leave, bro. Like,
why'd you have a fucking kid, you piece of shit?
Yeah, God.
I
love
your
having
baby.
kids.
Your baby's
at least
adorable. 15.
What? Are you talking about the jars?
Yeah. Dude, she found out about that joke after I had the baby. And
are you kidding me?
Not happy.
Oh man.
Joke.
I mean, that's fair.
That's funny as shit.
That's a dark ass joke.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
But it's still funny. Maybe we'll probably post it on like blooper reels or shit.
Yeah. The dark times.
Yeah, after we get like.
I'll make it my next character's mission in life is just to have that.
No.
Next campaign is definitely good.
Yeah. It's not. It's not evil. It's
Are
chaotic.
you saying offering a choice is
Definitely evil.
It's chaotic. It's not evil.
In the context of Joey's joke.
So we've gotten some likes on the D&D. Do you have any more likes? Because if not, you can roll into the dislikes.
I'd say that pretty much covers the main thing I like about D&D. I could go probably on and on if I were to keep thinking about it. Dislikes,
us.
Scheduling.
People.
I don't like having to... It's so hard to get a consistent D&D group.
Oh, man.
And, like, whenever you have to stress about making sure someone's going to be able to make it or anything like that, it's such, like, a hard thing to deal with. And I think we're fortunate because our group is pretty good about making time and making sure that we have a way to play. But I played D&D long enough to know that doesn't last. Someone changes jobs, someone has a kid, whatever. Life happens. And that is one of my things I don't like about D&D is that you also have to have a real life. Like,
if only I could live in the world of
D&D, yeah. Like, I would totally be a wizard, man. Like,
roguing it up over here.
But yeah, that's like the thing I don't like about D&D mostly is just planning for it and getting it all to work.
I'm glad you didn't hear that.
I guess also like min-maxing. I don't really like when it's hard min-max, like pun kind of stuff. Where
Has
it's
any
like,
of us ever min-maxed though?
No, but I've played with people who have.
I'm getting close with my current character because I've looked into some pretty min-max bullshit.
The only person that actually has min-maxed was
Rodney.
Zach. No, Zach. I was
Zach.
going to say Zach.
But Zach always counterbalanced it with
not
like,
yeah, but I'm really stupid.
I don't fight.
Yeah,
I've taken everything.
Yeah, like,
I have once a day kill, and everything else is teleports.
Everything else is you can't kill me. Though.
Yeah,
I've been maxed in survivability.
Yeah,
yes.
100%. So like he never goes like he had one character whose whole thing was he had so much strength he could basically walk through walls. And it's like, okay, that's great, but like, what else? It was like,
that's it.
Nothing.
That's it.
Like,
that's it.
He's
I
really
just
strong.
walk through some walls.
And he did.
It was
consistently
hilarious.
Call me the Floyd, man.
So, and even then, that's not like min-maxing like giant in the playground stuff, like I said earlier. It's just that is where I really hit the problem. Is if you're like, no, maximum all ability scores are infinity, all skill points are maxed out. I do 25 d10 on my attacks. Like when you get to that kind of thing, you're just like,
where you
why?
Hex store?
Yeah,
exactly.
That's my RP.
So, and it's just like
store.
That's what I don't like is if you take it too.
So what'd you say?
People like to treat it like it's a video game and that they can just break it. And yes, you can. The game is not balanced enough to stop you from being able to break it. But I feel like as players, it's your responsibility to not break it too hard.
I like the thing now is like when it comes to breaking the game, I love to do it theoretically.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to actually do it, but I'm like, what if I do this, this, and this? And everyone's like, that fucking busts the game. I'm like, sick.
Well, and it's fine. It's fine, I think, in our group too, because most of the things, if you pick something at least sensible, like 65 strength, I can walk through walls, right? That's great. But what happens when we put you in a prismatic prison of like purple and blue or whatever, where it's like you can't get out and also magic can't be used? It's like your strength doesn't help you. You know what I mean? Like, so there's answers to it. The problem is when you get really min-maxy, all answers stop working. Sorry, I'm a 10th level caster in addition to my 5th level fighter in addition to my infinite stats. It's like, well, how do we stop that? It's like, well...
God, death effect.
Yeah, maybe.
So, you are being
this
smitten!
enchantment on my armor that prevents death effects.
That prevents God death effects, yeah.
I don't think there's anything like that.
There's probably not.
It's my
I don't
homebrew.
know.
I just brought it into
It's
this
my
campaign.
homebrew. No, you can't min-max with homebrew. That's
I mean, you
bullshit.
can.
If you allow that, that's
You're
your
a
own
shitty
fault.
person.
Like,
Yeah.
so, but that's kind of what I dislike, is just like min-maxing and scheduling.
And I'm getting close to that min-maxing bullshit level because I've recently found a chapter in the player's handbook which is skill synergy, which is great if you've never heard of it. All it does is if you take a certain number of ranks and certain skills, it affects other skills with better buffs. And I combine that with being a rogue and specking into fucking rogue shit. So I have like a fucking plus 10 to my hide at level fucking, what, 3?
Yeah, I think we're level 3s.
Which is getting a little ridiculous for the campaign, but
Well,
I wanna hide.
skills, even then, like having a huge plus in skills is great, but that's not gonna usually bust the game.
usually.
Usually.
Yeah, and the DM can always be like, nah, he sees you. It's like, nah,
Like, shoot him
true
in the
sight.
eyes.
True sight.
What if I
You
shoot
see
him in
no
the
matter what.
eyes? And he can't see.
Maybe.
you roll high enough.
Skills.
So that's my.
So like, this one's a longer one, but like, what's one of your favorite classes or characters, or like the dungeon types or enemies and all that?
Well, I'm
fun
gonna just
stuff?
start with class and character.
Yep.
So
Already touched on this earlier.
I love monk. The monk class is so cool. So my favorite thing to do. This has become my favorite character. That you can just play is in Savage Species. There is a character race for anthropomorphic animals, so like furries or whatever, right? Which I'm not a furry.
Dylan's a huge.
100%
But
furry.
one of those that you can pick is an
Furry
anthropomorphic
shit, man.
raven.
That has some furry shit right
It
there.
gets a +6 wisdom, racially, and then its minuses I don't think are too bad. I don't remember what they are, but
What's
the
its
plus
LA?
0.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, it's busted.
Jesus Christ.
So you take that and then you make it a monk, which gets wisdom to AC, and then you make your stats strength, wisdom, and dex, and those are your 3 high stats, and you don't give a shit about your intelligence, charisma, or constitution.
I mean, you probably do want to give a shit about your con, but
Nah, man,
Not
because you
really.
get wisdom to dex or wisdom to AC and dex to AC. You get a +4 in both of those. You have an 18 dex at level 1 with no armor.
health though.
If they
Don't
can't
get hit,
you-
man. That's the
Don't get
idea. Like, so, and then as you keep going, like you have flight on a monk, which is suddenly busted. You have talons for your natural weapons, so instead of using fists, you still can slash, and you don't have to do bludgeoning damage. So you can, that different damage type is really helpful when you become a monk. And that's like my favorite to do. I love being the lawful good bird monk who's just kind of like, he's trying to reach enlightenment is usually the idea. So he'll be like a calm guy who's just into doing the right thing because it's the right thing.
I think we should do a
and
bird
he
squad
follows the
playthrough.
rules. Huh?
I think we should do a bird squad playthrough where we all
Squad.
just do ravens.
That'd be kind of cool.
That would be cool. I've wanted to do.
Cleric, a druid.
No one has ever agreed to do this with me, but I've proposed it to pretty much every group I've ever played with. A party of all orc bards.
Oh
Yes.
man,
And
I would
then
do
they-
it in a
I was
heartbeat.
100% on board with that as soon as you said orc and bard.
Yeah, they take like a violin, a viola, a bass, like the standing bass, not
Then
like a bass
Mongolian
guitar.
throat singing.
And then, well, it's got to be like something that, like a trombone or something, like a brass
Fucking
instrument,
drum.
because you would make them an orchestra, with orc being the primary
Just a
thing, and that would be
metal
our traveling
timpanis.
orchestra. And I always wanted to do that. I thought it sounds super fun.
But it's kind of fun. I was just thinking it'd be fun with the Mongolian throw singing. Just an orc.
That'd be cool.
Just fucking going nuts.
You should do that. You can do the throat singing thing pretty well, it sounds. So that'd be fun. But yeah, like that's another thing.
Fuck you, Joey. Go fuck yourself. Get out. Leave.
That's another thing I've always
done.
really
You're
wanted to
fired.
do. It's just the orc party.
I'd be in on that. That'd be great.
We'd die. We're bards.
I would try and find a way to do drums in that situation made out of metal, and then the fucking drumsticks catch on fire.
That'd be cool.
That'd be fucking sick, yeah.
Yeah, anytime I think of an orc bard, I'm like, it has to be just the most metal bullshit in the world.
Can we just be fucking just straight metal band?
Orctalica.
Well, that was part of it. Is the orchestra is so like not an orc thing to be. That was why I wanted to do that because it's so like we'd all be like, oh yes, cheerio, pip pip, and like very like
Posh.
posh. Yeah, that's the word. Like just a very group of posh orcs, and it just full orcs too, not half orcs. That's bullshit.
I'm a
Like,
full orc. Fuck you.
that's what I'm saying. You got to be full orchestra. Like it's not a half orchestra. Like
I mean, technically we
if
are.
half our party dies.
there you go. So what was the? And then there was like a part 2 to that one. There was like
The characters, the race, and then like your types of dungeons, enemies, like traps going into the dungeon and shit. Like,
I'm a trap dungeon DM. Like if you're in a dungeon,
Watch out.
it's traps.
That's
right?
probably why I've played a bunch of rogue in my life, because
makes
I'd
sense.
walk into your dungeons and be like, if I don't have trap finding, we're fucked. Because no one else does.
Yeah, barbarian maybe.
Yep.
Maybe I haven't played with a lot of barbarians.
Yeah,
Barbarians have uncanny dodge at level 2, and they also get trap sense.
It's really
At level
funny
3.
because the way rogues get trap sense is they sneak down the dungeon looking for traps, right? The way barbarians get trap sense is they get hit by one too many goddamn traps, and they're like, all right, I'm gonna figure out where these are. Like, I'm tired of getting hurt.
This is a little too much.
Yeah, that's why it's like level 3. You get because level 2 you get uncanny dodge. It's like, all right, cool. There's gonna be something here. I know it. And then level 3 is like, where the fuck are they?
This wall looks like some bullshit.
I'm gonna break it.
Oh god, there's a bomb.
Boom. Yeah, exactly.
Fuck.
And then the barbarian knows for next time,
Don't break the wall.
don't break the wall. And he still does.
Yeah, I was like, or break the wall because it's a barbarian.
Yeah.
My intelligence is literally 6.
So
Hey,
yeah,
fuck you. My intelligence is 12.
I love trap dungeons. I remember one of the really fun ones I did once was Sam, Nicole, and you, Scott. It was in a Skya. You guys were traveling in a Minotaur's maze.
Oh damn!
And the maze was under. They'd been doing a dungeon, and the dungeon was like 2 floors. The top floor and the bottom floor was the maze. So they'd already done all the stuff on the top floor. And this dungeon was like surrounded by like a lake. Like all around it, and they had to get to the dungeon that was in the middle of the lake. And then when they went under it, they weren't underwater. It was just carved out in stone, but it was under the lake. You know what I mean? And they were going through this maze, trying to get away from the Minotaur. And one of the rooms they came across was just this giant fucking hole. It was really, really big.
Man.
You did this
And,
with me too in part 2, Electric Boogaloo.
I ended up really liking the trap.
Skya,
Like,
yeah.
I was like,
It was
oh,
a
this is
great
cool.
trap.
It was before he brought us to this guy.
So
I knew what it was. So
they were like in this big, huge maze, and one of the rooms they come to just has this giant hole.
It
and
wasn't
they,
even like it was like in the middle, pretty much.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a room. It was just we open up and it's a big square, and it's like there's a fucking giant hole in it. I'm gonna throw a rock in it.
Yeah, it's like a rock or
You
a torch,
don't-
and it was like you never heard it land. Like it's too deep. And so they were like, all right, don't go in there, you know? And they left that area, and then at some point, they actually got separated because Sam is getting chased by the Minotaur. The Minotaur has found him in the maze, so Sam's running through the maze. Sam finds the actual, not the exit of the maze, but the entrance, though they had to climb down a ladder to get down there. Well,
That's not how we got down there first.
but that is not how they got down there. They had gotten down there through a chimney or something. Like, they'd gone through the Minotaur's chimney backwards. And it was really dumb. So they were under there. Well, so Sam's like, sweet. He's running from the Minotaur. He's climbing this ladder.
The Minotaur's
right behind him.
No, man.
Like, trying to climb up this ladder. Sam reaches the door that's above him and opens it. It's not an exit. It is under the lake.
Oh,
So
man.
all this water is immediately just pushing him down the ladder, and the Minotaur too. And Sam takes a shit ton of damage because he's getting knocked around by this water, and the water's going through the maze, right? Well, guess where that water goes?
To the hole.
To the big fucking hole.
I feel like I've had this experience. Sans the Minotaur, but an own demon of my own.
And Sam got really lucky. I think when he was going past the room that Scott and Nicole were both in, and Scott passed the check to grab him when he was going through the water and hold on. So
thank God for Dwarven stance.
But the Minotaur didn't, and the Minotaur got flushed down that big hole. Which when all the water was done, it filled that hole exactly to the brim. Like that hole was now full of water.
Jesus.
And there was no Minotaur to be found. He was so far under that he probably doesn't even float anymore. Yeah.
The bladder pressure crushed his ass. That's great.
There's no more lake, by the way.
And the lake was empty. That was it's just all the water in the entire lake.
Sounds a lot like Lake Hylia.
So that was one of the really fun traps. That it was just because I had drawn the maze.
What it was.
I had drawn the maze. I knew how it was on like grid paper and stuff. So the water was designed to like as it flowed would reach this hole. And Sam realized that like halfway through the trip, he was like, "I'm going to the big hole." I cannot go
None
into
of
the
us
big
told
hole.
him either. He just figured it out on his own. Because I'm like, he's going to go in that hole. And I didn't say anything. 'Cause I'm like, Dylan's going to yell at me if I say that.
Right.
And then it's like, he'll figure it out. If he doesn't, well, whatever.
Yeah,
But he does, he's in the hole.
I thought I was going to kill him.
Yeah.
But no, that was like one of my favorite traps that I ever did. And mazes, I like mazes, but the problem is that there's no fun to a maze in D&D. It's just, well, I go left, I go right, I go left, I go right, I go left, I go right. And you can't, like you can draw the whole maze out, and that makes it one thing, but then your players can see the maze, and then they just figure out the maze from above it, and then they don't have to actually explore it as characters and stuff.
That's why when
So,
you
I
should
don't know,
do
mazes are
mazes,
tough.
you shouldn't draw. You should make it like pitch black. It's like you need a torch, and you don't draw it out. You draw it out as they go.
There's a couple
So
of
it's like
things
you
that I
walk
figured
forward,
you
it's
could
like
do.
you run into a wall. And it's like, okay, there's a wall here, and there's 2 sticks here, and there's ways to go here, maybe.
You can do that, but what I found to be a little easier is putting stuff that they have to have, like a key, in the maze. So now it doesn't matter if they know the way out; they never found the key.
Yeah.
So then that makes it tedious because mazes take a long time to get through.
It's the stereotypical quintessential dungeon is a maze. Dude.
Yeah. Well, and I came up with a really fun one that I'm going to use in my next campaign. Maybe it just depends on if you ever reach it. It's such a big world; it just really depends. But one of the mazes I made is everyone gets turned into an animal. Is part of the dungeon.
That.
Yeah. So the first puzzle in that whole thing is that there's an invisible maze, and that maze can only be seen by the person who gets turned into a bat, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But the other characters who aren't bats have to follow the bat to get through the maze. Well, there's also these goblins that are like stationed throughout the maze, but they have these special bow and arrows that can shoot through the walls of the invisible maze. So they can see you when you're trying to get through this invisible maze, and they start shooting at you from wherever they are. Their arrows go through the walls, and most of the characters can't see the walls. Only one can. So that's kind of the puzzle of that whole area. And different little things like that. Mm-hmm. And so, like, mazes can be done. I found that it's very hard to make them worth it. You have to have enough stuff in them, enough, things that they have to complete, because you don't want to backtracking through a maze. That is so, like, you know what
That's
I mean?
not
Like,
fun.
exactly.
Been there, done that.
So, I don't know. Mazes are kind of an iffy one for me. It's something that I would use sparingly. If you need your players, like if there's a time limit, right? If they have 2 days to complete something, a maze is great, because that really stresses that time limit. But if you don't have a time limit, then you're not really getting anything extra out of putting a maze in there. You're just lengthening the amount of time that the entire dungeon is going to take. So if you can build that dungeon without a maze and still make it interesting and fun, then I think you should. But that's just me. I think that there are probably people out there who make amazing maze dungeons, that I just, don't play that style, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Right, and what looks like time-wise might be our final question. We might be able to squeeze in another one.
Squeeze in some more, like maybe 2 or so.
And we'll see here. We're close on time. But how would you improve yourself in D&D for the channel?
I think a big part of it is we're working on this show. I don't know when the fuck the episodes will start going out, but we're working on a show called Page by Page, where we're going to be kind of explaining the Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, and Monster Manual initially. and then moving on to splat books as we get further. But I think that the process of that is literally like I'm reading through the player's handbook as if it was a textbook and making a curriculum like the way a teacher would, and then teaching that same curriculum as if they had the player's handbook as their textbook, which I feel like is a pretty smart way to do it because they have that as a textbook. And then, you know, most teachers don't read directly from the textbook the whole class. They talk about what the textbook is talking about, and if you're confused, you can read through that little section of the textbook. So I think that as I go through that, anything that I already wasn't, you know, fully knowledgeable of, I'm going to get caught up with. Sam is doing the same thing for the DMG, so I'm going to watch his series of that as well. And I think that just those alone, I think, will really help tighten like any of the core mechanics that I might be missing, or any rules that I might be misunderstanding. Like, for example, something I found when I was working on my module that I just didn't know before. Kobold is not an LA -2. That is a common homebrew rule that a lot of people do because Kobold is a 1/4 challenge rating. It's not even 1. You know what I mean? But the lowest level adjustment they do in the game is 0. So you're actually losing out by playing a Kobold. So a lot of people give you that -2 level adjustment. Some people say 1 level of Sorcerer, 2 levels of Sorcerer automatically. But there's no actual concrete rule for that. Like, and I learned that when I was looking up that I was trying to find that rule. I was like, where is that? So little things like
for that, I like kobolds.
Well, and I don't think it's a big deal because a lot of people do that. But I just was surprised to find that was something that wasn't actually an official rule. Like I thought it was, and that's where I really expect to, you know, those kind of things as I'm going through page by page, is finding rules that I didn't know or had wrong or whatever, and kind of tightening up, you know, our play style as that goes.
Get that. So you said Sam's going to be doing the DMG. You guys doing the Monster Manual and all the other ones?
We don't know yet. Honestly, it really just depends, because me and Sam right now are working on the 2 because we want to make sure we get like a theme that my video looks the same as his video and that kind of thing. Once we get past that, the idea is, like, I was going to go through the entire Player's Handbook, he was going to go through the entire Dungeon Master's Guide. We know we were going to go through the Monster Manual, but we don't know if we're going to do it the same way. Because obviously it's written way differently.
Yeah.
It's you know, it's not...
it's more of a list than a guideline.
Exactly. But the DMG and the Player's Handbook, it'll be like introduction, and then that introduction is a whole section of the book, and then it's got like, what is D&D? A paragraph. What is blah blah blah? A paragraph. What are races? A paragraph. The DMG, same thing. It's like, okay, you're in combat. What is a bull rush? Paragraph. What is a trip? Or whatever, like all that shit is just listed out for you, and that's what we're kind of rehashing in this, so that you don't have to read through the whole book. If you watch our videos, you might as well have read through the whole book.
Right.
Yeah.
The Monster Manual, you can't just do that. You're like, this is a thing. This has this much hit points. It has this much.
Maybe you could do like a brief summary read through, and then be like, ask questions, like a quiz kind of thing for that. Because I know the Player's Handbook 2 is like, fuck, I can tell you about half that book.
Yeah, and that's the same kind of deal. Like, when we finish the Player's Handbook 1, Player's Handbook 2 would be a really good book to... would be a really good book to choose next, you know? As well as, like, when we're done with the Monster Manual, we have the Monster Manual, too.
3 and 4.
And 3 and 5. And DMG 2, even, for that matter. So, like, those kind of things are something that's in the idea planning process still, though. I have like the first introduction chapter done for Player's Handbook 1. I think Sam has done the same thing for DMG, and then we were actually, not today, but later this week, that was something we were going to talk about, was making sure those look the same, and how that we're like presenting them. He said he has some idea too for how he and Nicole are going to deliver the information like back and forth. So I was curious to see how he's going to do that, but I haven't talked to him about it yet, so I honestly don't know.
Alright, cool. So that actually answered pretty much the other question about something confused about, and it's like you're working on that now. So I'm just going to give you 2 questions here real quick, because this will be the last 2 questions, and they're pretty much the same kind of thing.
Okay.
Well, actually, they're actually not. I'm sorry. What is some tips for recording a campaign, and what's the best thing you like about the channel?
For recording a campaign, be ready to realize that you're going to lose footage, you're going to lose audio, you're going to lose stuff, you're going to lose assets that you didn't expect to lose, that just for one reason or the other, your camera just didn't record it, your mic just didn't record, your software crashed, whatever the reason, you're going to lose something, especially when you're first getting started. So that's one thing to, be looking forward to if you're trying to record a campaign. That is, be ready for those things, because we tried to record a campaign. We tried to record the water campaign when it first started, and because we had those issues, we were like, well, we'll just finish this campaign, and then when the next campaign starts, we'll try again. Well, that campaign lasted like a fucking year.
Yeah.
So we lost a whole bunch of time that we could have been recording, and we would have been professionals by the time that campaign was done. We would have known how to set up all the cameras, we would have known how to set up all the microphones and set up all the software to have as minimum data loss and crashing as possible. Like, I learned that with my little micro SD card thing that I use to get the GoPro footage off the GoPro, if I use one of these specific ones that I had, it would corrupt it every time because, like, the SD card thing was broken, the micro SD converter. So now I just plug the GoPro directly in with the SD card in it to move the footage. And I learned that by losing footage, you know what I mean? So that kind of thing is just one of the big things you have to look into, is like, you will lose footage, you will lose audio, and if you're not willing to work with that, if you don't have enough to, at least get your story across, that's really tough, because D&D is all about that continuity.
Right.
So that's one thing that I'd say, just to, if you are planning on ever recording a campaign, if you're just doing it for fun, you know what I mean, just with a regular little home video camera and you just want it to watch back, you don't need to worry about that stuff nearly as much. But like, if you are trying to put it on YouTube or Twitch or something, Twitch might be a little easier because it's live. But
I mean, who you think that?
Yeah, right, exactly. I haven't done. We haven't played live.
We both stream.
Yeah, exactly. So,
We know
and I've had issues on stream too.
Yeah.
So
We both know how much it can be like, oh, hey, cool, my game just crashed. Or, oh, hey, cool, my OBS just crashed, and now no one knows what the fuck just happened.
yeah. And what was the other question?
What do you like? What's the thing you like most about working with the channel? Like,
Oh,
the channel in general. Like, what do you like about it? What's your favorite parts about all this stuff?
the
'Cause you already-
fame and the YouTube money. No.
Yeah, right.
I was like, 'cause you already said you like.
Swimming in it.
I know you already said you like to look back on that.
Yeah, I think it's just like, to me, D&D itself is enjoyable enough. I would have been trying to play D&D every week anyway. So by taking, I think our group is really fun. I think that, we have a lot of personality. And I really do think that if anyone takes the time to, watch the campaign especially, that they will kind of get hooked into our friend group and they will want to see, what we're doing. And that kind of motivates me to keep going. And, so it's not about the fame or anything like that. I'm not trying to become the next YouTube, Jake Paul or whatever. But
Wait,
I do.
That's not a good fucking analogy, man.
Well, we're not trying to become Jake Paul. That's what I said. But either way, I meant famous, just really, really big. Like, if that happens, that is great. That's awesome. It could help us play D&D more. Is kind of how I look at that.
Could
But-
provide money for my life.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we have. There's no scheduling conflicts if our job is this. You know what I mean? We always make it to every session if that happens, and I'm looking forward to that kind of life if we can pull that off. But it's the same kind of thing where I'm not like banking on it. I'm just having fun with my friends either way. If this goes nowhere, in 20 years, I'll still be glad to have these campaigns that I can go back and watch and just remember, like, wow, Scott's a fucking idiot, like, 20 years from now, and Scott, the look you gave me. But yeah, I'm just
Alright,
fucking
Kyle,
with it.
we're done. He's out. I'm going home. Going to work.
But,
I guess.
But yeah, no, that's the main thing for me, is I just really like the idea of us getting to, like, play D&D. That's really all it takes for me to want to be here. Like, just playing the game.
Playing this whole game, man.
Check on the time real quick.
We have
It
time
looks
for,
like we have at least probably one more question.
One more
Got
question.
about 10 minutes left before we hit the time frame.
Well, Scott's got to
shit.
go a little early today, too, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. What time is it actually?
We got about 10 minutes.
Oh, well, hey.
Yeah.
That worked out pretty well.
It did. Shit. You pretty much answered all these questions and pretty much tidbits of other questions.
Oh, okay.
Do you have anything you want to say? That's appropriate.
I know it's hard.
Because I know where you're going to go with this if I didn't say that.
Well, Fuck Keemstar.
Fuck
God
Keemstar.
damn it.
There it is. Gotta get at least one every podcast.
Alright. Well, I'm keeping all these in. I'm not editing any of them out.
I mean, I don't see
I'm
why we
making
should.
it louder specifically. Just that
like-
section.
Just like,
Just the red
Dylan,
names.
do you have anything else to say? And then just something, fuck Keemstar! Like, it's way, like bass boosted and everything.
Put some dubstep behind it.
God damn it.
I don't know.
Oh,
I
man,
guess
he's gonna ruin our career before we even start!
Right, we're gonna be on drama or where the fuck it's called.
I'm not worried. Like, if he wanted us on Drama or whatever it's called, I'd probably be like, no, thanks. Like, obviously we shit on you. Why would we want to go on your show?
Only to cause more drama.
But isn't that... Well, I guess that's the point, isn't
Yeah.
it? That's, yeah, that makes sense. God. But no, I guess if it's just something about D&D in general, all you guys should play evil lich wizards.
I mean, it's
They're
only the
super fun.
appropriate way to play in the D&D session.
Yeah,
Especially
evil-
if your team is full of good, lawful good fucking monks.
There's something we can talk about. The balance of the game itself. Don't that was sarcasm, by the way. Don't play evil if you can help it, because the game is super written and designed for evil to be the DM.
Evil, yeah.
Because they're so much stronger. Like
Unless you have a really good DM.
right, and you can have a DM who can DM you being evil.
Yeah, because
And that's
Rodney
fine.
always plays super good. So when Rodney DM'd the water campaign, he was like, no, I am the good and the evil. I am both. I know how to do both.
But if you were to look at, like, the Book of Vile Darkness, you're like, oh, that's great. And
It was
like,
the first thing it says in the fucking...
yeah, do not let your players read this book. Or
What
have
do we
this book,
do?
Or hide this book, something like that.
What do we do?
We
read the fucking
used
book.
it, yeah.
Crack that
Like we
smile
said,
like
we
a
were
motherfucker.
getting, we can convert souls in the water campaign from the Book of Vile Darkness. That was something we can do.
Yeah.
And like that was from Book of Vile Darkness. But if you look at like, okay, well, Exalted Deeds, if you compare those side by side, yes, it seems like good and evil are on equal footing. But the thing is that that's just not true, because there are also books like Libris Mortis. There is no good Libris Mortis. You know, that is just an evil book.
Wouldn't it be, wouldn't it kind of be like deities and demigods?
No,
Because
because deities and demigods is not good. There are evil deities.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
a
shit,
neutral
you're right.
book.
But Exalted Deeds is a good book. Like, it's all exalted deeds. Like, it's all the, you're a saint and you gave up, sex and alcohol, so you get this, and you gave up speaking, so you get this, and and that's the saint thing. The evil characters usually don't have to give up as much stuff. They just have to do something vile, like
bring down an orphanage.
Or we genocided the gnomes in our one campaign.
Yeah.
That was a vile enough act that it has stuff more than in Vile Darkness.
Speaking of killing the genocide of the gnomes, did you see the blood moon the other day?
I did, actually. That was the day after my birthday. Don't date this episode, but...
Don't do it.
Do it.
Damn it.
There's a
Doing
big
it.
date right now in font.
Big
Fuck
mood.
Big mood.
Big
Big
mood.
mood.
Big cat.
But yeah, so just in general... Ooh, excuse me. I hiccups.
What the
That's
fuck,
wow,
Dylan?
man. I can't believe you would say that to me.
God.
But just in general, try not to play evil too much, because it spoils the players if they get to use all this awesome evil shit all the time, and then you try to make them good and they realize it just
Sucks.
is weaker. It's not by a huge amount, but it's enough if you are used to playing evil. And also, I think that good restricts itself in a lot of ways, because as a good guy,
You're
I
not gonna
can't
burn
just
down
kill
the
that guy who just fucked me up, who just made me upset. But as an evil guy, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, you said that to the wrong person, zap. Like...
To be honest, we really haven't done that too much in the water campaign.
Shark Boy!
And Lava Girl.
No, there was no Lava Girl. It was just a guy who looked like a shark, and I kept calling him Shark Boy.
No, because we got him because he was breaking the pirate's code of leaving, running away.
The gnome.
I guess.
The gnome on the dinghy.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
never mind.
okay.
Yep, all right,
He
yeah.
was just trying to get up a stress ball.
With prestidigitation, yeah.
Just fucking wrecked his ass.
It's like, wait, will we save on magic?
That was funny. Yeah, I was like, no casting, what the fuck? What do you think you're doing, dude? But
He broke the rules though.
He did, that's true.
God damn it.
I was lawful evil, man.
We set the rules and if he broke the. Yeah, no, we were lawful evil. We made the rules, and if he broke our rules, we killed you.
Yeah.
So it wasn't no reason. We had a
I
reason.
guess that's true. But, yeah, so...
I suppose.
Loopholes.
Yeah, it's definitely a little,
Oh, you guys are playing a bunch of
that's,
lawyers.
That's lawful
Yeah.
evil for you.
Lawful evil will do it. but-
Lawyer
but we'll
is like
find a
the
way.
definition of a lawful evil career. Like, for sure. for all you lawyers out there. Just so you know, you're all
lawyers.
lawful evil. Unless you're a good lawyer, but...
Even the best lawyers are
that's
lawful evil.
I'm the best lawyer ever. You murdered someone? Let's try to get you out of it.
We got this.
Well, see, there are definitely lawyers who don't take those kind of cases. If they
Right.
think you're guilty,
Those
they
ones
won't
don't
take
get
your...
work.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're lawful good and poor.
Yeah. But they're
yeah.
good.
If I was a lawyer, I'd want to be a corporation lawyer, the most lawful of evil. Like,
Look, I know the report says that our hair care product caused cancer in rabbits, but I'm sure it won't cause cancer in little people.
and little people specifically.
And then there's just a whole influx of midgets with cancer.
Wow.
Because they use
Because
this
of
hair care products.
Dumb.
Because of dumb.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Hashtag never sponsored.
But if you want to sponsor us, Dumb,
we'll recant that statement.
yeah, then I will not
I will
say
re-edit
your
this
product
podcast.
gives little people cancer.
Oh my fucking Christ. Okay, I think that's gonna fucking wrap it up before we fucking drown ourselves anymore.
Right before we dig this hole deeper.
Yeah.
Well, this has been the fifth episode.
This is the 5th episode of Dungeons and Dialogues.
Brought to you by your D&D channel.
Yeah. Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
Dylan.
Get the fuck out of here. Actually, no, just sit down. You make too much noise when you leave.
Yeah,
We'll leave when we shut down. Because if not, it's just going to be a bunch
It's
of
gonna be
audio
a
for us to
fucking pain
fix.
in the ass to fix
Yeah.
this. But this has been your lovely host, Scott.
What? You're not
Joey,
Scott.
you're not me. Joey, get the fuck out.
Your lovely host, me, Joey, and
God
Scott.
fucking damn it, you're a fucking idiot.
I was like,
I
what?
was hoping Scott would say my name with a little fun.
I was so caught off guard by that. You're like,
Scott's
I was
over
like,
just
I
jerking
also
off.
was like, wait, what? That's not right.
at least you're 2-1. You're fucked, dude.
Yeah.
You've lost already.
Yeah, it's just not like comedic timing, so
Go fuck yourself.
the fuck out
Oh
of my
God!
house.
Oh Jesus Christ! Oh, don't forget, our campaign should be coming out by the end of the summer.
Yeah.
Oh fuck! It's almost the end of the summer.
It is close.
Fuck!
This episode actually might be out after the campaign has started being uploaded.
I hope.
Isn't that crazy? Like,
I hope. I fucking hope.
and it might
Dating
not.
this
With our
up-
luck, it'll be
Dating this
October.
podcast.
Yeah, it might not be out until next summer.
God, I
Hopefully
hope
not.
no.
I fucking hope not.
No, it will
Just
be out
kill
before
ourselves
then.
at that
I
point.
promise it will be out before then.
Yeah. All right. So don't forget to check out some of that stuff if it's not already out, and if it's not out, well, sorry. Wait. Don't know what else to tell you there.
You guys
Do all the fun stuff, and then you gotta smash that like button. You gotta smash that like button.
Yeah, we have
subscribe.
Rate.
we have
Rate's not like a thing
Instagram,
anymore.
Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
And it's
Twitch.
all your D channel,
All of them are your D&D channel.
so it's not hard to find us.
Yep, and
Hopefully.
links are in the description, I'm sure, and on everything. We
I fucking hope you put the
plaster
links
that
in
shit
there.
everywhere. Yeah,
Good. So I'm not.
Each video not only has the links in the description, but in an annotation that's the whole screen and written on the video.
I don't think it has. I don't know if we even can put annotation links yet.
I think we
have to
can.
be
I think
high
we do
enough.
one.
Maybe one. I'm not sure. I think that's YouTube
A
unlockable.
link that links to a fucking text document that has all the links for it. But anyways, thank you for listening, and tune in next week.